Good afternoon, children.
Afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon, ma'am.
You had your lunch, children?
Yes.
Everyone? Or you're waiting for the period to get over?
No, ma'am.
I didn't get an answer.
Waiting for the period to get over.
So if you're feeling hungry, you may not listen. That's why I asked. So those who haven't taken the lunch, forget about it for 40 minutes. Okay. After 1:40, do you have a period next? At 1:40, another period is there?
No. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, then you can have your lunch peacefully. Children, we have learned about different life processes like nutrition, respiration, excretion. In lower classes, you've learned about different types of life processes. All these life processes are necessary for maintaining the life of an organism. Whether it is respiration, excretion, digestion, all these are very important. If these processes do not work properly, then the living organisms may not be able to survive. But we are going to learn about a life process which is not essential for maintaining life, but it's essential for maintaining the continuity of the species or race. But it is not necessary to sustain your life. You can survive even in the absence of this particular process. But if you need to maintain the continuity of the species, then definitely this process is very, very important. Can you tell me about which process I'm telling, which is not essential for us to survive, but essential for maintaining the continuity of the race?
Reproduction.
Exactly. It's about reproduction that I was talking about. Let's learn about reproduction and the different types of reproduction. Reproduction, you can define it as the process by which living things give rise to their young ones or produce their young ones. Give rise means not this rice, not RICE rice, RISC. The process by which living things give rise to their young ones. That is known as reproduction. And reproduction you can broadly classify into two types: sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Once again, reproduction is the process by which living things give rise to their young ones. And there are two types of reproduction: asexual and sexual reproduction. So let us learn more about reproduction.
Ma'am, chapter number?
Chapter number, I think 9. Reproduction in organisms. Reproduction is the biological process by which living things give rise to their young ones. It's a biological process by which living things give rise to their young ones. And let's see the significance. What is the importance? Why it is necessary to carry out reproduction? What is its significance? It is essential for the continuation of a species. Suppose the members of a species, cat or dog or human being, whichever be the species, if they stop reproducing, if the members of that species stop reproducing, then what will happen? Within a short span of time, that species will be completely removed from the earth's surface. No more organisms of that species will be left behind. So it is very, very important to maintain the continuity of species. It also ensures the continuation of similar kinds of individuals generation after generation. So when an organism reproduce, they always give rise to identical or similar individuals. Human beings always will produce babies, human babies. Cat will produce kitten resembling cat. Dogs will give rise to puppy, which will be resembling or similar to dog. So all organisms will be producing individuals of similar type, similar kind. So if you are asked to write the significance, what is the importance of reproduction, you can list these 2 points. It is essential for the continuation of species. Second point, it ensures the continuation of similar kinds of individual or formation of similar kinds of individuals generation after generation. And there are 2 basic methods of reproduction, asexual and sexual reproduction. Can anybody tell me the main difference between these 2 methods? Anybody?
Ma'am, in sexual reproduction, 2 parents are involved.
Very good. And asexual?
Asexual, only one parent
Parent
is
is involved.
Exactly. Very good. So sexual reproduction means both parents, male and female parents, are necessary to produce an individual. Whereas in asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved. In asexual reproduction, just one parent is enough to produce a new individual. Whereas in asexual sexual reproduction, 2 parents are needed. Both male and female parents are needed to produce a new individual. So what all points you need to learn from here? What is meant by reproduction? What is its significance? What are the 2 types of reproduction? What is reproduction? It's a biological process by which living things produce their young ones. Now, what is its significance? It will ensure the formation of similar kinds of individuals generation after generation, or you can say it will help in the continuation of species. And the 2 types of reproduction are sexual and asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction where only one parent is involved, asexual reproduction where only one parent is involved, and sexual reproduction where 2 parents are involved in forming a new individual. Now, to begin with, we are going to learn about asexual methods of reproduction. And there are different asexual methods of reproduction, but here you will be learning just 2 methods, 2 asexual methods of reproduction found in animals: binary fission and budding. These are the 2 types of asexual methods, or 2 types of asexual reproduction carried out by animals. We'll begin with the first one, binary fission. Bi means 2, binary fission. Fission and fusion. Can anybody tell me the difference between fusion and fission? Word meaning. Anybody who is good at English? Huh? Nobody knows? Fusion means what? Fuse, to combine together. And fission, something is getting or undergoing fission means? No idea?
undergoing a process.
Which process? Word meaning.
Dividing.
Ah, yes, it's getting divided or it is splitting. In fusion, they combine. In fusion, things combine. Here in fission, splitting takes place, separation. Okay, that is the difference between fission and fusion. So binary fission means splitting into 2. Bi for 2, fission is splitting. So in binary fission, organism will split into two new organisms. So let us learn more about binary fission. It's a process by which an organism reproduces by dividing a single cell into two cells. One single cell, it will undergo division and form two new cells. Such a method of reproduction is known as binary fission. So from the word itself, you will get an idea what does that mean. Bi, two, fission, splitting. So this is a method of reproduction where a single cell gets divided into two new cells. Okay, and examples for binary fission: amoeba, paramecium. You have learned about amoeba and paramecium. Pictures you've seen in the chapter microorganisms. Both of them are single-celled organisms. It can happen only in single-celled organisms like amoeba, paramecium. Now here you can see the picture of amoeba undergoing binary fission. So you can see a parent amoeba. This is parent cell. And let's see how it is dividing and forming two daughter cells, so two new cells. First, its nucleus will divide. See, this was just one. It divided into two, and then it is followed by the division of its cytoplasm. First, the nucleus divides, followed by the division of its cytoplasm or its body, and we get two new cells. Amoeba is a unicellular organism. The binary fission in amoeba begins with the division of its nucleus into two. It is followed by the division of its body or cytoplasm into two, and each part will be receiving a nucleus. Cytoplasm divides into two, and each part will get a nucleus. Finally, two new amoebae are produced from one parent amoeba. See the plural form of amoeba. When you add E at the end, it becomes plural. Amoeba, one amoeba, two amoebae. Okay? So did you understand, children, how binary fission is taking place in amoeba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
This binary fission, if you're asked to define binary fission, you can say it's a asexual method of reproduction or the process where an organism or a single cell divides into two new cells. A single cell undergoes division and forms two new cells. And examples, amoeba and paramecium. And how binary fission takes place. First, the nucleus divides, which will be followed by the division of its body or cytoplasm, and each part or each portion or each bit will be getting a nucleus, and they form two new daughter amoebae, which will develop into two amoebae, two new amoebae. Clear? Before we proceed to budding, I just want to check whether you have understood. What is meant by reproduction? I'm not going to call out the name. Let me know how many of you are listening carefully, how many of you are confident to say without me calling out the names.
Ma'am.
Yes. Yes, sir. Adigesh, I appreciate your initiative. Yes.
Ma'am, it's a process by which the living beings give rise to their young ones.
Very good. You can even mention biological process, but even if you don't include that also, there is nothing wrong in it. Okay, good. Now, what is the significance? 2 points we discussed about the significance of reproduction. Who will tell me? 1 point one can say.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, it is essential for the continuation of species.
Very good. It is essential for the continuation of a species. Second point, who is going to say? Yes, Advait.
It ensures the continuation of similar kinds of individuals generation after generation.
Without looking, you say once again, Advait. Let it be, mistakes can come, no problem. But your idea is correct.
It ensures the
Formation of
continuation of generation of kinds of generation individuals from generation to generation.
it ensures the continuation of similar kinds of individuals generation after generation. Very good. This is how I want. You should be prompt enough. Like you don't have to wait for me to call out the names. If you're confident, you should speak. Now, which are the two types of reproduction?
Sexual reproduction and asexual
Asexual reproduction.
reproduction.
Okay, good. Now, one of you tell me the difference between these two.
Ma'am,
No, not Lynette. I want someone else to open their mouth now.
Ma'am,
Wait. Sridev.
In asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved. In sexual reproduction, two parents are involved.
Very good. Okay, so you have understood the first part. Now moving on to the methods of asexual reproduction. Binary fission. What do you mean by binary fission? Huh?
I'm dividing one cell
Yes,
into
Fadil.
two.
Ah,
I'm dividing one cell into two for
continue, no
here-
problem. Mistakes I will correct. A single cell. No problem. What is coming to your mind? You speak.
divided into two cell.
A single cell, it's a process of reproduction where a single cell divides and form two new cells. Yes, Fadil? Yes. And that is known as binary fission, or else you can say it's a method of asexual reproduction where a single cell will get divided into two new cells. Now, we learned about two organisms where binary fission takes place. Which are those two examples?
ma'am, amoeba and paramecium.
Paramecium. Amoeba and paramecium. Vaishnavi said or Lynette? Who said?
Ma'am,
Okay. Others also, let them also take a chance. Then, explain binary fission taking place in amoeba. Those who did not answer so far, they can say. Who is going to tell how binary fission is taking place in amoeba? Let it be wrong. You are learning it now. I can understand there will be mistakes. No problem, but you should make it try.
Ma'am,
Yes. Yes, Nivedya.
ma'am, the nucleus is divided into two, and
Yes.
then the division of the body happens, and finally we
So
get
what is special, Nivedya? One point you have to add there. You said nucleus divides into two and then it is followed by the division of its body into two. Each part?
receiving nucleus. Also.
Yes, very good. And finally we get?
Two amoebas.
Two amoebae, not amoebas, two new amoebae from a single parent. Very good. Now we have completed binary fission also. And we are moving on to the next method of asexual reproduction. Which one is that?
budding.
Yes, budding. So let us learn about budding now. Budding takes place in organisms like yeast and hydra. Two typical examples where budding takes place are hydra and yeast. Yeast you're familiar with. We all have yeast at home. You ask your mother, she will show you yeast stored in your kitchen in granule form or powder form. And when they get suitable conditions, lukewarm water with the sugar in it, or a lukewarm water of lukewarm sugar solution. If you add some yeast into it, yeast will start multiplying, starts reproducing. Till it gets appropriate condition, it will remain in an inactive stage. Okay, and yeast is an example for a fungus. Yeast is a fungus, and here you can see two examples. You have to learn in detail about budding taking place in hydra. Hydra is an animal and fungus, two different kingdoms. Okay, fungus belongs to a separate kingdom. Plant plants, animals, and fungi is a different kingdom. Two more kingdoms are there. You will learn in higher classes, Monera and Protista. One including bacteria, the other one including protozoans and unicellular algae. Don't worry about it. One is a fungus, other one is an animal. Hydra is an animal, comes under animal kingdom. And here you can see in parent hydra, one, in asexual reproduction, only one parent is enough to reproduce. And in this parent hydra, you can see a small bulge over here, a small projection. Okay. And the small projection, you call it as bud. Then in the next step, you can see it slowly growing and developing tentacles. See, these are the tentacles. Tentacles are structures which help them in capturing the food and also for movement. It helps them to move and capture the food particles. And slowly the bud grows a little more bigger in size, and once it is fully grown, it will detach from the parent and forms a new hydra. And once again, I will repeat, children, in the first figure, what you see is a pictorial representation. And the second one, you can see a microscopic view of a hydra. And here it is not necessary, or it is not that only one bud will be formed at a time. Several buds can be formed. See here, one bud, another one is developing, this is another one. So many buds can be formed at the same time. Later they all get detached and each one will form a new hydra. Once again, I will repeat with the help of the slide. In this process, a bulb-like projection, you call it as bud, it will develop on the body of the parent. This is that bulb-like projection. And how is this bulb-like projection formed? By repeated cell division. In that particular area, repeatedly the cell divides. So when cell is dividing repeatedly only in one particular area, there will be a mass of cells, a group of cells. So that will form a bulge. Okay. So that forms the bud. It grows and finally slowly grows. Once it is fully formed, it will get separated from the parent and forms a new organism. And you call this process as budding because new individuals are developed from the buds. As new individuals are formed from the buds, you call this process as budding. Example, yeast and hydra. So yeast also, at a time, they can form several buds. Suppose this is an yeast cell. So they will form one bud. Before it is getting detached, they can form another one. A chain of buds can be formed in the case of yeast. And later what happens? They all get separated and form many new yeast cells. About yeast, you don't have to learn in detail. You need to learn only about hydra in your present class. The new individual are formed from these bulges, and at a time, one or more bulges can be formed. And these bulges are buds. We call it as buds. They are the developing individuals. Any doubt? So once again, I will repeat. With that, we have completed the last and final method of asexual reproduction, which you have to learn in class 8. It is the process, budding is the process where new individuals are formed from buds. Now, what are buds? Buds are bulb-like projections produced on the body of the organism, of the parent organism. Now, how are these buds formed? By repeated cell division. So, when repeated cell division takes place, it will form a bud or a bulb-like projection. Then, what will happen to this bulb-like projection or bud? It will slowly grow, and once it is fully formed, they'll detach from the parent and they will develop into a new organism. And another example for an organism where budding takes place is yeast. Yeast and hydra are two examples for organisms which carry out budding.
Ma'am.
And at a
Ma'am.
okay, so budding, who can define what is meant by budding? Can tell me what is budding? Just single line you can define. Don't refer your textbook. What have you understood in a single line? It's a method of asexual reproduction where new organisms are formed from buds. Repeat.
It is a type of sexual reproduction.
Asexual reproduction.
Sexual reproduction
Ah.
from which new individuals
are formed from buds. Okay, give two examples or examples of organisms where budding takes place. Who will tell? Those who did not answer so far. Yes.
Hydra.
Yes, Lakshmi. Hydra and yeast. Explain the budding taking place in yeast. Sorry, yeast you don't have to learn. Hydra. Who will tell? Those who already answered me need not repeat. I don't want them to say the answer. Others. So I will call out the names. Yes.
In Tom.
Good. Tom, tell me.
Hydra, new individuals grow from the outgrowth or bulges of a single parent.
And what will happen to these bulges?
They'll grow.
They'll grow, develop, and finally they'll get separated from the parent. They get separated from the parent and they will develop into a new organism. Good. And at a time, more than one bulges or buds can be formed on the body of hydra. Not only in hydra, in yeast also at a time, many buds can be formed and later they all will get separated and grow into new individuals. So with that, we'll wind up our session for today. And next class, we'll be learning about sexual reproduction. And at the same time, we'll have a revision test on the chapter cell structure and functions. Okay, thank you, children. See you next class. Come prepared for the test.